All right, Coach, why don't you give our listeners a little bit of background on you prior to becoming head coach at Pickerington Central? Because most younger people kind of that's probably all they know you as.
Well, just like anybody else, I came out of high school and wanted to continue playing football, and I was fortunate enough to go to Capital University downtown, played football there, and got my teaching degree, and spent 2 years at Whitehall, and then ran into one of my old junior high coaches, and they said they needed a driver's ed teacher at Pickerington, so I got that job, and here I am, 2020, still here.
Now you're a Circleville guy, right?
Yep.
Somebody brought me an unbelievable donut from down in Circleville. They said there was some great donut shop down there. So they
Lindsay's Bakery.
yes, it was I think it was a pumpkin donut, and it was unbelievable. They were right. So
Well,
sir,
they canceled the. I'm sorry, but they canceled the pumpkin show this year. But when you go down to Lindsay's Bakery, they have the largest pumpkin pie in the world. But since they had to cancel because of COVID-19, there won't be this year. But my wife and I, when my daughters were here, we always made the pilgrimage down there. Every once in a while, Coach would go down there with us. But yeah, it was a great place to grow up. Fortunate, but like I said, coached under Jack Johnson, and then became defense coordinator. And then when the school split, Jeff Monaco became our defense coordinator, and I went to the offensive side of the ball.
so you mentioned your daughter. So you're not the smartest guy in the family with those two, right?
No. One just Coach Monaco and I are out on the driveway right now, and one of them just came out, and she went and exercised. Now she's getting to work on her dissertation for a PhD.
Yeah, that's
Let's put this: if you added my wife and I's ACT together, it still wouldn't reach their ACT.
well, you started. Correct me if I'm wrong, but your first year as head coach there was 2003.
Yep.
So when you took over there for Jack, who is a really notable guy in Pickerington, did you ever could you or Jeff could you have ever imagined the success that you would have there?
Well, I think when I went over to the offensive side of the ball, as defense coordinator, Jeff Monaco was our defensive line coach, and he and I did the defense together for 6 or 7 years, and I didn't know if we'd ever have this many wins stack up one on top of the other, but maybe it's because I started on the defense side of the ball. But one of the things we wanted to know, we didn't know we'd ever get there, but we wanted to push the envelope. We wanted to try. We knew what we wanted because we had gone to playoff games and we bought tickets and we saw state semifinal games, state championship games. Didn't know if we'd ever get there, but we knew we wanted to do everything that we could. And one of the things that we did offensively was just try to eliminate turnovers. And if you're a defensive coordinator, that's the last thing you want to hear is a fumble or an interception, a quick change. And I think one of the things we've done when I went to the offensive side of the ball, we tried. Now, you're not going to eliminate all of them, but we tried to decrease turnovers, which we really did. And then Jeff took over the defense and kind of put his brand on it, his stamp on it. And here we are in 2020, 2 state championships, a couple runners up, and we've had a lot of fine ball teams over the year. And we're in the midst of what hopefully will be a great season. And in that case, we're just happy to be playing and going into week 7.
Yeah, you've mentioned Jeff, and obviously he's been a huge part of what you guys have been able to do there on the defensive side of the ball. But how important is it to have continued consistency in the staff over the course of the years? You look at a lot of other programs, and they have a lot of turnover in staff, new young guys looking to, maybe jump up to bigger, college programs or whatever. But you have been able to consistently keep your core group of guys in the mix.
Jeff Monaco has been with me the whole time. Ryan Docherty, Dave Bristol. Those have been our core coaches. We've had a few coaches that have been with us 15 years. Maybe they stepped away for a year or two and came back. But, if you just look at Tiger football as a whole, we've only had 2 head coaches in the last 50 years. I don't know how many high schools can say that, especially public high schools, where they've only had 2 head coaches over the last 50 years. Now, Jack was here for 30-some years. This is my 18th year. And then, the staying power of our coaching staff. And I don't think we just coach together. I think, we're friends. It's a lifestyle to us. We enjoy it. And there's no doubt that the continuity has led to a lot of wins over the years. Even the years that maybe our talent level might not have been as high, we still produce a team that's very difficult to beat. And like I said, we're a staff that knows each other really well, and we're all teachers, so you can run into each other in the hallway and run something. Hey, coach, take a look at this pump block I'm thinking about putting in, and Ryan and I will talk about that. So, and same thing, Jeff and I, every day you run in school, and it really helps. And I know the trend right now is a lot of staffs, teachers are getting away from coaching. And it's difficult to go through a whole school day, and then someone who's not a teacher shows up, and they don't even know that their starting inside linebacker is sick and didn't come to school that day. And we find that out by first period almost every day that somebody's missing. So that continuity has really helped. Then you throw in a bunch of good players, and like I said, a couple state championships later.
Yeah, I've always wondered what is the key? Like, how do you do it where you have so many top end guys, but I don't think that's the calling card of your program. I really think it's those guys that there's several guys I can think of in the past that just kind of stick around and grind it out. And then by the time they're senior, they get on the field and make a contribution for you. How do you keep those guys around and want to be part of what you're doing? I mean, I know success is a big deal, but in this type of society, it's really hard to keep guys around like that.
Well, I think it starts with our 7th grade, Matt Smith, our head coach, Bill Hennessy, our head coach of our 8th grade. Those guys do a great job of instilling what it means to play Tiger football. And unfortunately for us, as the years go by, our numbers have really increased. A lot of head coaches are concerned, because there for a few years it was about concussions and CT and that stuff, and their numbers dropped way down, and ours seem to stay steady, if not grow. But just like I said, the continuity, I think our players are really instilled with sending every senior class off with as many wins as possible. And that doesn't mean a state championship every year. It might be an OCC championship. It might make the playoffs. And I think our underclassmen understand that if they do that for that senior class, and then when they're seniors, those juniors and sophomores and freshmen are going to do it for them. And I think one of the things our staff does, and I think our team as a whole, we blend sophomores, juniors, and seniors together to come up with a team. Sometimes we have to go down into the freshman class and have them help us win also. And I like it because our players, they put that aside where, we want to be the greatest class to ever come through Tiger football. If you have that mindset, then you are only going to be good once every 5 years or once every 7 years. When you got the guys who will put their class aside and just blend together, you can win year after year, but you have to you got to check your ego at the door.
Yeah. I mean, that's really hard to do, especially with social media and things like that. It's really hard to check kids' egos now. But you guys have done an unbelievable job. Another area you guys have been dominant is, and I wanted to know what you were thinking about this with the new field coming up at the new facility possibly. Your dominance at the ditch has been unreal. I mean, you lost 3 games there in the last decade. What is it about that place that just allows you to dominate there?
Anybody that's been and kind of seen how we do it, we do all our staff meetings and our pregame meetings up at the high school, but then we walk down to the stadium. And as our guys walk down, cars will go by blowing their horn. We'll come up the hill in front of the junior high, and there will be our student section out there playing football. Like last year, we came up over the hill, and you'll hear one of our players yell, "Crenshaw to Styles," and they'll throw a long pass, and they'll catch it and act like it's Crenshaw and Styles. And our guys, they kind of give them a wave, and we're glad they're there. We really miss them this year with the reduced attendance, but I just think it's a whole mindset to it. And our program, it's not for everybody. We've had players that have come up through our ranks, and they're looking for a little bit more. If they're looking for stats, if they're looking for something that resembles self-absorption, self-purification, ours is going to be a tough program to play in. Because very seldom do our guys, it doesn't matter if it's Lorenzo Jr. or, Demetrius, and he was our quarterback, or Garner. If you think you're going to have a guy that's going to rush for 2,500 yards and pass for 2,000 yards and that type of thing, it usually doesn't happen in our program. And we're fortunate. Our guys concentrate more on the score than anything else.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I grew up in an area near, and I don't know how familiar you are with Steubenville's football program, but
yes.
I mean, they run their program very similar to you, where you're never going to see guys in the box score with crazy stats because Reno runs guys kind of like you guys do, where he plays a ton of guys on offense, and there's always somebody ready to go when a class graduates because he's running 3 or 4 or 5 running backs in the game and multiple guys coming in running plays in, and I feel like you guys do a lot of that same stuff, obviously on a little bit bigger scale with the population in Pickerington, but I've always kind of correlated the two programs of Steubenville and you guys do things very similar.
Well, there's no doubt on offense and defense, when Jeff and I started this 18 years ago, we wanted to play a lot of different guys, upwards of 18, 19, 20 guys on each side of the ball. One game your package might be in for 5 plays. The next game your package might be in for 25 plays. But I think that's one of the things that's helped us to play fast and never have a wholesale change from the next year. We usually, from guys we rotate, there'll be anywhere from 7 to 8 guys who have played 25-plus plays a game. They might not be a pure starter, but very seldom are we coming in with somebody that's totally green, never played a varsity down. And that way it kind of feeds off itself, and you don't really ever – I hate to use that rebuild or reload or whatever that is, but we hardly ever seldom have guys with absolutely no experience playing their first down of varsity.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes when I'm at the game, a buddy of mine, I think he played for you, Kent Keach, we'll look at each other the first couple games, and you're running like number 19 in the game at receivers running plays, and we're like, who in the heck is that guy? And it'll be a senior that's, put his time in, and, like last year with Ja'Kai Alston, a guy that kind of surfaced there as a senior and made some big plays for you guys with his speed. But yeah, you guys play so many guys, and I think that's a big advantage for you guys, especially as the further the season goes along. Because if you look,
I'm glad you brought up Ja'Kai. I mean, he is a what you would call a pure Tiger football player. Played JV his sophomore year, rotated. Played JV his junior year, rotated a little bit. But talking about player development, talking about a kid who came into the weight room, and our guys realized we only got one senior season, and he put everything into it, and had a phenomenal senior year, something he can hang his hat on as he grows old. But a lot of our guys and teams, when we talk to their coaches, they'll meet us at midfield and we'll talk, and stuff, and we're like, where'd you get number 16? Where did he didn't even play for you guys last year. And he might have been starting on our JV team. Then there they are, and unfortunately we have those guys who really work at it. And I don't know what it is. Sometimes their senior year, they don't flip a light switch; they flip like 10 of them, and they just come alive and play well for us. And hopefully, continue to do that.
Yeah, I mean, looking back at the last 18 years, I mean, you guys early on played in a state title game against Piqua when you guys were down in D2 and ran into a pretty good player in that game. And is there a time frame where you and your staff thought, hey, I think we've arrived. I think we're on people's radar now.
Well, in 2011, that was the first time we beat a parochial school. We beat St. X. And they had beat us earlier in the season in the Herb Street Classic at Ohio Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Then we faced them in the state semis. Heck of a ball game. They had a great team. We had a great team, and we were fortunate to win that game 14-7. But it was a heck of a game. And when you knock off X or Ignatius, Eds, a Menor, an Elder, when you knock off those teams, Central Ohio is not viewed like Central Ohio anymore. And for so long, Southwest Ohio, Northeast Ohio, they were the dominant Division Ones. And now, what Davidson's done and us, and you throw up Arlington there and some of these other teams that are starting to knock these Southwest and Northeast teams off. And I'll tell you something else we're starting to do. We're starting to schedule them.
Right.
If you want to play them, don't play them for the first time in the state semis. Go up there week 2 and give them what you got, see what happens. But then your kids will get that measuring stick that how they have to play to match up against those teams. And then it's not a shock to them if you face them again in the state semis. And I think Jeff Monaco, he and I have been together a long time, and we knew we wanted to play those teams. And there was a few times, we got our you-know-what handed to us. We took our hat to them. And, but you know what? Then you dial up the weight room even more. And I think that's what Jeff's done, and Ryan Doherty, our offensive line coach, does our special teams. We can't make our guys 6'4", but we can get them strong enough to block 6'4". And like last year, when I looked down at the other end of the field and I saw Elder down there, I'm like, oh, Toledo. And then there was such a disparity on the size of our offensive line and defensive line compared to their offensive line and defensive line. But our guys come off the ball, they stick their feet in the ground, they hold the ground, and that's kind of been our transformation in it. Yep.
Yeah, it was funny because I was going to mention that game against X down there. I think was that Welcome Stadium that time, because you mentioned you played them earlier at Ohio State, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it was delayed for a brief period with the lightning or something.
Your history. There was 3 lightning delays.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think that was huge because, you had a little trouble. I think it was in the second half tackling that running back. But when you got them down there at Welcome Stadium, I think that you guys, it was a big help playing them early in the season because you played nearly flawless on defense that night. And
we were very stout defensively, and a lot of people don't remember, and the coaches do, because the assistant coaches, they want to strangle me because we played down at Nippert Stadium against Moeller and lost to Moeller week 1, and then we played Ohio Stadium against St. X week 2. So we played them back to back and started out the season 0-2, and the coaches weren't too happy with us. But there's coaches that'll say, "Hey, we'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime. We'll actually do it." And we're looking at this season right now, but, I'm working with the athletic directors right now. We like to start every season with a marquee matchup. And we've got a couple things in line right now, big matchups for week 1. And we're there's a little bit of money involved in how you have to work a little bit. But I think we're going to have a pretty good matchup next season also, week 1.
Yeah, you're mentioning that, and it's a pretty good segue to, you this is uncharted water with how this season's went, with the pandemic and everything. Are you a little bit, kind of apprehensive about, usually you do play those marquee games, and I think you were scheduled to play a very good Detroit MLK team early in the season this year. And this year, it was just kind of like everybody else. You're just playing the conference schedule. So at this point, do you feel like you have a really good gauge on this team? Because, when you play those big boys, you have a good idea of, just exactly where we're at. But, with this team and not playing that out of conference schedule, obviously you guys are extremely talented. But is there still some question marks for you?
I think our guys who maybe didn't get a lot of playing on last year's state championship team, I think those extra 5 weeks are showing up right now. Because when, it was sideways, the whole summer was sideways. But when we got into camp and started getting the 2-a-days, It was so strange because as soon as we started going over formations or Jeff started going over fronts, it started to click with them right away. And I firmly believe if we started practice 5 weeks earlier, I don't think it'd make any difference. But when you finish the season and then go 5 weeks longer and you play more intense football, higher profile games, I think that really pays forward. And I think this team, even though we've got 6 games in and fortunate to have 6 wins, they kind of got that veteran brand to them right now. And we've kind of switched over to our playoff type of practices. And I think we ran total after we did group and individual and stuff, we probably did close to 100 plays, offense and defense combined. And we try to simulate a game situation, that type of thing. And our guys clicked and did it like it was our first day of practice.
Yeah, I mean, it helps when you have so many guys that have been there before. When you're talking about your O-line and some guys on the D-line, and Lorenzo's played a ton of varsity football, and Garner's been in other positions, but and it helps that he's an extremely intelligent kid to segue into the quarterback position. But I wanted to mention your defense this year. Obviously, it's been lights out. You give up a couple of late scores against Reynoldsburg, but prior to that, I mean, only 3 points and kind of a bad snap on a punt against Groveport gave him 3. But talk about Jeff and how he's you lose a stud in the middle like Marasco, which you usually do lose somebody really good, and boom, you're right back in to that dominating Tiger defense again.
I think one of the things we've done I was so fortunate the governor allowed us to do a scrimmage when we scrimmaged Southern Kaufman, because that's when we really work on our tackling, is during the 3 scrimmages, and Jeff will watch film with them, and we'll talk about tackling angles. Very seldom do we go out and practice and do full go tackling against each other. But what was nice was we got that scrimmaged in, and you can really slow down and look at your tackling angles and stuff. And I think from our week 1 game against Pickerington North until against Reynoldsburg, where we tackled Reynoldsburg, they had some kids, and we tackled them out in space. And I think we've tackled very well for 6 weeks. And I'm talking about somebody using their shoulder pad, getting a hold of the guy, and then within a count or two, there's 2 or 3 more shoulder pads on the player. And you put that with the amount of film study Coach Monaco does, knowing our guys are gap sound, that our coverages are sound. We never want to get caught off guard. We never want to get caught by surprise. And Jeff's done a great job with that, and he has over the years. And it just, people think it's a secret. It's not a secret. It just takes time. If you're sitting there willing to study film, which our players are and our coaching staff, then you don't get caught off guard. And fortunately, we've won 6 games like that, and hopefully we can keep it going.
How big is it to have, you guys are very, very aggressive defensively and always are, but how big is it to have a guy like Lorenzo and Sonny back there where it's really hard to get a big play on you guys with 2 premier guys like that on the back end of your defense?
Well, I think, we had Garner Wallace at free safety last year, playing receiver for us. Garner, very intelligent, studying formations. Him and Coach Ellis, our defensive back coach, who concentrates on the free safety position, always knowing the formation. Look, they're trying to hide that tight end. Look, this is what they're trying to do here. And it's almost, since Garner's coming on the offensive side of the ball and quarterback, Alex has all the attributes. He can tackle or run. He's got the height. He's got the length and stuff. But he also has got the football savvy. And he's sharp. And he understands when, like, Coach Monaco was just telling me, I got a call from Styles last night. He asked me, Coach, what about if they're blah, blah, blah? And Jeff goes, Jay, he knows his film. I mean, he studies it, knows exactly what they're doing. And when you can anticipate down and distance what formation they're in, these are their top 2 plays, Then once they start to run the play, you know it right away. Then you react even faster. And I think that's another thing that separates Alex Styles and Lorenzo. Same thing. I mean, you can tell the guys played 50 football games, and with Lorenzo and Alex and the rest of our defense, you can tell those guys just love to play football. And when you do that, you enjoy the physical part of it, and they do.
So let's just talk offensively here for a minute. You guys are a little bit different this year. No Crenshaw. You're a little bit. I don't want to say more balanced, but with Crenshaw, when it was 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 2, I mean, you knew he was going to get the ball. And now with Garner, who's a little bit more. He's a different type of runner. He's a different type of athlete. But with Nick Mosley back there, who's Mr. Consistent, how is the offense different this year with Garner as opposed to Dimitrik?
I think it's very similar. Even though we haven't got to that point in the season where we start running our quarterback a lot, we've run him some. I could see some of his carries going up. But one thing that Garner knows, and you mentioned Nick Mosley, and I'm glad you did that. If it's 3rd and 2, he's going to get 2.5 yards. He knows this is a third down conversion. It's not where I make a wiggle and try to go 90 yards for the touchdown. We need this first down, and that's where Nick's experience plays off. And Garner's the same way. He does a lot of check downs on our passes. Yeah, everybody'd like to throw deep. But if it's 3rd and 6 and we need 8 yards to pick up the first down, they're going to get 8 yards, or at least we're going to get 5 and force Coach Sharrett to make a decision on 4th and 1. And when you have those kind of guys back there, but once again, you're talking about checking your ego at the door. You're talking about what's best for the team. If we pick up this first down, we keep the ball another 3 minutes. That keeps our defense off the field, and if you do that, you'll have great performances, which I think our guys have, and then the pass that you don't think will be a 50-yard touchdown turns into a 50-yard touchdown, and our guys buy into that, and it's worked well for us, and hopefully it continue to.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, last year, I know you know the play I'm talking about, state title game, Crenshaw, I want to say, was it 4th and 3, 4th and 2, he kind of, I think you called timeout, and he might have waved you off. I think you were getting ready to punt. What did he say to you to make you change your mind, or did you change your mind?
Dimitrik would never wave me off. Did we make eye contact? Yeah, we made eye contact. And he came over, he looked at me, and I looked at him. And then I hear this person down the sidelines, Coach Monaco. He's like, "Go for it, Jay Bird." I thought, you know what? I got the best quarterback in the state of Ohio. I got the best defensive coordinator telling me to go for it. We're going to go for it. And, a lot of our offense is designed never to take a loss. It's not a fancy running game. We don't do a lot of misdirection. We don't do a lot of cross-buck and that kind of stuff. Our job is always to keep it 3rd and less than 10. We never want to take a loss on any play. So we feel very comfortable going for it on 4th and 1 and 4th and 2, but it's got to be the right situation. And if we have not to convert, we got to make sure we don't have our defense back against the wall. But if Dimitri Crenshaw staring at me, Jeff LaMonaco saying go for it, and you got those two types of guys, like, you're going to go for it. Unfortunately, we got it and went on and won the game.
Yeah, I mean, it was really an incredible run. I mean, very rarely in football do you get to right your wrong, and you get Groveport in a rematch in a regional final, and you come out first half just dominate, hitting on all cylinders. But it always seems like when you get up against like Menor or an Elder, it's like the speed of the game just completely changes, and there's so little margin for error in those games. And when you have a guy like Styles, I mean, you could, expand upon this, but to me in the Menor game, like, his speed completely changed the game on that, long touchdown early in the game. And then he has the touchdown against Elder where he just ran away from everybody. And that's such a huge benefit to have a guy like that can just change the game.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember when he scored in the Menor game, he comes over the sidelines. He's like, "Coach, I never broke stride." and we don't know till we get home and start breaking down the film. Those guys blocked that between Kobe Corbin, Tyler Gilson, Max, and Monaco. They blocked and Kai and Chikai Olsen. They blocked every defender. And he caught this quick pitch, made a little slit move, and runs 50 to the end zone. But I'm glad you brought up in the state championship game. It was 3rd down and 7. We were just going for a 3rd down conversion. He ran a perfect pattern. Dimitri hits him right in the soft spot of the zone there. But when he turned, he saw Garner coming over to chip the safety and knew he had a chance to go vertical, and he did. But that whole play was to do nothing but pick up the 1st down and maybe drive it down and get within field goal range. And luckily he hit the crease and we scored the touchdown. But like I said, a lot of our players, they concentrate on one stat, and that's the score. And I think it's proven itself for us. I'm not saying it would work for every program, but our guys find out the less selfish they are, the better they perform. The more they play for their teammates, the better they perform. And next thing you know, a scholarship offer comes, or some D2 and D3 kids start calling, or schools start calling our kids, and hopefully we can continue to do that.
You had mentioned Kobe and Gillison and Max and those guys. Man, they're so underrated with, just going out there and doing the dirty work every single play, making blocks, being unselfish. But this offensive line, this veteran offensive line with, Meek and Sanchez and just across the board guys that have been around for a long time. What has this offensive line seems like one of your bigger offensive lines, to be honest with you, that you've had. I mean, you lose Bowden, who's a big piece, but this offensive line is nasty.
Yeah, it's been tough because we lost Kyle Bowden and we lost our best blocking H-back tight end, Tyler Turnbull. 2 just tough injuries, and those guys are kind of heart and soul guys of the team. And, when those kind of guys get hurt, it bruises the team, makes everybody take a deep breath and step back. But you got to continue to play. That's the thing. And one of the offensive linemen was on our state championship team last year that started, Keaton Snyder.
Right.
If you run behind Keaton Snyder, he's got enough pride that you're going to get a yard, if not 2 yards. Even if they know where the play's coming, he's going to come off the ball and play it as mean as anybody can. And they take pride on not taking a loss. Whenever you run their hole, you've got that confidence that you're going to get 1 or 2 yards that you need. And that's made up, the way they were raised. Their offensive linemen, they don't need a lot of credit in the first place. But Brian Doherty, I don't know if he's the best offensive line coach in the state, but I bet you he's in the top 2. And it doesn't matter if Ryan has a totally veteran offensive line or an offensive line that's coming back that has one returning starter. He puts them together, makes them gel as one unit, and we've been fortunate to have that top line offensive line. And plus, this is one of the strongest offensive lines we've had. They're way more strong. They're physical.
Yeah, you want to mention those other couple guys on the line because those guys they don't get enough credit for what they do for you guys.
Well, you mentioned we got Cameron Griffith back. 1 minute into camp, he broke his leg. Just leg slipped out. Somebody landed off the line. No one's really sure how it happened. It was strange because he had just started to come back when Bowden got hurt, and Cameron's come back in. He's still not 100%, but I mean he gives you everything you have. And then we have Kobe Asamoah, who just joined our team.
Right.
He moved in. He moved into the school district last year. Played for Reynoldsburg the year before, and it's been a nice transition for him because he was always used to pass setting every play, and we'll pass set, but we come off the ball too. And now that he has kind of learned how to do that, he really, like the rest of our guys, really enjoy that part of football where you defeat the guy across from you. Not just defeat him, but defeat him. And there's, it's not going to get in the newspaper. They're not going to get interviewed, but their parents, the coaches, when they watch the film, they see, man, that was a heck of a block. We drove him off the ball. And then when we award Tiger Paws on Monday, it makes them feel good that they're being recognized for it. Now, like I said, they're not going to get in the Columbus Dispatch or anything like that for it, but they're pretty good football players.
One other final area I want to talk about of your team that I think has been just outstanding. I've mentioned it many times so far this year to different people is the special teams coverage has been unbelievable. Mitch maybe doesn't have quite the leg, the distance of a leg of a Kubra or guy you had last year. His name's eluding me right now. Bookman. But guys like Orlando Kamara and Jaden Mills and Biles and those guys, man, they have just been outstanding covering the kickoffs.
Well, I think it's just like what I played before. None of those guys want to come to the sidelines, and look at Lorenzo Jr. or Snyder in the eye and say, I just missed that tackle and cost you your senior year. They all know if they go down there and they just let it loose, and just go down there and have the best kickoff coverage or the best punt coverage, that it's going to help us win. And Mitchell Vollmer, he's been climbing the ladder, just knocking that ball higher and higher, giving that coverage a chance to get down there. But when the offense rolls out there and they're starting at their own 16-yard line against our defense, that's a tall order. I'm not saying they won't get a first down, but if they do, they haven't got back to their own 30-yard line yet. And most teams will stall out against us if we make them with that long field. But yeah, our special teams, once again, like I said, Ryan Dockley, he's our special teams coordinator besides our offensive line coach. And we take a lot of care on choosing what players play in what position. And you can tell, those guys can tell it's just about playoff time, and they're starting to dial it up a little bit, and they'll continue to do that.
I don't know if you have like a specific name for the position, but man, I used to come to the game strictly to watch Garrett Foster run down the field and just destroy guys. I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah. That's an R5. You're right, 5-guy in, and there were so many teams that game planned for him and stuff. But yeah, he was the fastest guy. A lot of people don't know this guy was the fastest guy on the team and benched 350 pounds. So when they would try to set up the wall, he'd 0-1 guy and knock him out. And and we show when we're in camp and we're in 2 days, Coach Dockley will pull back old films and show kickoff coverage and show these guys what it means to go down there. And then, on Monday, if we win, we'll hand out Tiger balls, and you'll call somebody out on Tiger ball, and they'll get 3 Tiger balls for kickoff coverage. It means something to our guys, and I'm not saying that's the only reason why they do it, but they like that recognition from it, and they know it helps us win, and it does.
Yeah, I mean, because you look at a guy like Orlando Kamara, I mean, he could go to several places and be a featured running back, but he's running down there on kickoffs and smashing people. Coach, as...
Oh, no, he is...
Go ahead.
No, you were breaking up there a little bit. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Kamara, he could be a featured back at many different schools, and he goes down there sacrificially on special teams. I mean, he would be a Pro Bowler for me.
Yeah. Even that whole kickoff team, and plus our punt team and our other special teams, I mean, they go down there, they know they make that first initial hit, we smother them inside the 20. I'm not saying that they won't, but you're almost guaranteed it's going to be a tough road for that offense coming out there against our defense. And they know coming to the sidelines, the team's waiting for them because they know we just smothered them, put our defense in a good situation, and that's what we're there to do. And like I said, they know ultimately the only thing we do in practice and everything is to win. And if that's their job and that's what helps us to win, that's what they'll do. And he's a great example of it.
Coach, I wanted to look at just the bracket real quick before I let you get going here. I know you guys are busy. Region 3, kind of like the top half of the bracket, looks like it could be like a replay and reverse of your regular season. You get an old OCC Ohio foe there in the round 1. But And there's a lot of work to be done, and there's some really underrated teams out there. I think Upper Arlington's a team that is getting better. I think Buttermore's going to do a great job there. I think they're going to be back in the next couple of years, and Orange is a team you played last year, but I think people would be remiss if they didn't look down the road and they're looking. And I know coach talk. We're going to play it one game at a time, but there is always that sense that maybe we could see the crosstown matchup again. But like I said, there's a lot of work to be done. What do you make of this Region 3 bracket?
Well, I mean, it is coach talk because it is true. We only play one game a week.
Right.
We don't pick up with headers. We don't do a trifecta over the weekend. One thing our guys know, you win them and you forget them. The moment you get caught up in a win, you get stung the next week. If you win, and it doesn't matter if you win by 1 point, you still advance. And I think that's the thing that our guys know. Our guys know all you have to do is advance. If you keep that mindset and don't panic during the game, because some teams will panic. The team that panics loses every time. And our guys know you keep that mindset, score one more point than the other team, then we'll start again on Monday and try to beat the next team by 1 point or more. And I think that's what's, through the month of November in the past when we played the playoffs, you could tell our guys get into that mindset. And you could almost tell it yesterday during conditioning and scouring court install. But today in practice, you can tell that, they're light on their feet. They're making that transition. But we don't care who we're playing. We just want to score one more point than them in advance.
Is there a team, you guys have played most of the heavyweights, and you know this as well as anybody, to win the big boy trophy in Ohio, you're going to have to beat the 5 or 6 usual suspects. And you have found a way to defeat most of them at one point or another. Is there a team out there that you would be, because I have one in mind, but is there a team out there that you would be excited to see somewhere down the road that you've never seen before?
The only team I think we haven't played head to head is St. Ed's. And,
yeah, that was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, he and I have talked off and on over the years. We thought we might have had a matchup last year, but Menor got him in the state semis, regional championship. And but honestly, it really doesn't matter. If a team wins a playoff game, that's who you're going to play next. Then you tip your hat to them, and that's who you play. You don't even worry about it. You just want to win in advance. I'll get that chance.
Who is the hardest team to prepare for? That you guys, historically play in the play. Who is the hardest team to prepare for?
We've played some Donniebrooks with Hilliard Davidson over the years,
right?
And simulating that offense, that type of thing, that was always difficult. But I don't know if there's any one team. We played some pretty tough games against Coleraine. We played some tough games against St. X. We lost the heartbreaker to them in 16, and we lost 29-27. Thought we had a chance to win it at the end, got a tough call. But I don't know if there's any one team because our guys are used to playing anybody. And I think that trip we took down to Georgia last year, we flew down to Atlanta and played Winter Park. That team, we were fortunate enough to wrestle the game away from them. But about the first 8 minutes of that game, we're down 13-0. I'm like, holy Toledo, what have we gotten ourselves into? Luckily, our guys adjusted to how fast they were. A lot of people don't know, Dimitri, our quarterback in that game, the very first pass of the year, he had Ty Hamilton wide open and threw it to him and put enough arc on it, or at least he thought. And one of their dudes went up and stabbed it out of the air one hand. And then, a lot of people don't know this, Dimitri went 10 for his next 10 for 258 yards. Never threw another incompletion. Because after that first interception, you adjust. Okay, these guys got some dudes. These guys can play. And we took different tackling angles and started tackling them better. And I think our guys do that based on what team we play each week.
I got two questions. I'll let you go here. I know, like I said, I know you guys are real busy. You've had some great teams at PC. I mean, I can think of 10, 12 right off the top of my head. Is there one team, after you've won two, is there one team that you look back on that you think that team probably could have or maybe should have been competing for a title? The team that I was thinking of was maybe Eiler Hardy's senior year. I thought you guys were extremely dominant that year.
We were pretty good that year, and then 09, we got beat by Davidson in the second or third round. They went on to win the state championship. They beat us, I want to say, 14-6, 14-8, and that was a heck of a ball game too. But I don't know if there's any one team. Like in 2015, we had a pretty good team. Darius got, we're 3-0 or 2-0. Broke his leg down in Lancaster. We had to change a bunch of stuff, and we lost to Lancaster that night, like 20-14. But then we came back and won 6 league games in a row. Lancaster, I don't know what happened to them, but they ended up losing a couple games, and we came back and won that OCC title outright.
Right.
And that was we weren't a state championship team or anything like that, but that team, that was very gratifying to come back and see them win 6 games in a row after they had their heart broken. We were on the front page of the Dispatch, just ripping this and everything else. And that's what I like about our kids. They could have caved, tucked tail. That team came back and won 6 games in a row, won the OCC outright. And I think just year after year, our teams, they just refuse to concede. And last year, you could see it plain and simple when we dropped that game to Groveport. Groveport played a great game, and that was a tough loss. But we played Hilliard-Davidson the next week, so there wasn't any time to pout. There wasn't any time to feel sorry for ourselves, because if you do that, Davidson's going to beat you 17-7 next week. And our guys regrouped. A lot of senior leadership came through. We had a great week of practice and ended up putting it to Hilliard-Davidson pretty good that night. And then just that kind of catapulted us. And then, of course, we won a bunch of games in a row. And so I think it's kind of almost like a mindset with our guys that no matter what, no matter how dark the moment seems, how bleak it seems, dig your cleat in the ground, play harder, try to strip the ball, do something to flip this game. Unfortunately, we've done it over the years.
Coach, I end with this one. Each championship team, whether it's OCC, regional, whatever it is different. And you got the 2 state titles, and I'm sure that those both meant different things to you. You had the real senior-laden, very talented group in 2017 with X and Gilly and those guys, and then last year with Crenshaw, in his final high school game, going out in incredible fashion. What would it mean for this group of seniors who really, that's all they've done is win from the time they entered the Tiger program? What would it mean for you and this group of seniors to go out winning their last game?
I'll tell you what's nice. Unless you win the state championship, your last game is going to be a loss.
Right.
And, then you just beat yourself up the whole off season about it. But we use that word state with a lot of reverence. And kids and parents say, "Oh, you guys are going to win states." Nobody can get sick. Nobody can get in trouble. Nobody can have a party and players get suspended. Nobody can be ineligible. I mean, there's so much stuff, and being an educator that you are, there's so much stuff that can happen throughout the school day. Something, make a decision, take something that's not yours. I mean, there's 100 different things, and for our guys to kind of stay in tow, it's that, and whether it's a state championship or whatever we're chasing, they know if they step or stray out of line, then you're putting that in jeopardy. And I think with our senior leadership, and I don't really like this, but once you get a little feel for it, a little taste for it, you look forward to it, and you think, do I want to go make a mistake with these guys down at Circle K, or they're not on the football team? I'll let them go to Circle K. I'm going to head on home. And sometimes just a quick decision like that keeps you from being suspended for 2 games or being caught up in something ugly. And ultimately, being educators that we are, we're helping them make those decisions. But some days they're going to have a job, they're going to have a family, they got to make the right decisions to provide for that. And hopefully we're kind of instilling them with that type of thought process. Step back, take a breath, decide what you want to do here first. And unfortunately, you have to have everything lined up to make a run like that. And unfortunately, it's been that way. This isn't college football. This isn't the NFL. These are high school kids, and they probably make 10 dumb decisions a day. But they got to be sharp enough where it doesn't cost them playing time, doesn't cost them an F on a quiz, it doesn't, they're sitting in detention, or they offend somebody, or whatever the case might be. And I think our guys have done that. And I don't mean to say that our guys are angels. None of us are. But they've got to be sharp on their decision making. And luckily, I have a coaching staff that helps instill that in them. And like I said, if we could make another run, it'd be great. But right now, 2 months ago, we didn't even know we were going to play football.
Right.
So, we've got a regular season in. We won the OCC championship. We've got a lot of momentum heading into the playoffs, and we'll carry it out each week and see what happens.
Yeah, that 2017 team that you guys won the first title, my dad had asked me, what do you think the big thing was that, for you guys this year? And I said, well, you look at the state title game, I mean, and, maybe behind the scenes there was injuries or things, but like that team was like really healthy. I mean, as healthy as you could be in week 15, which is so rare with, you look at, you play Davidson, you play Coleraine, and you're going to get guys banged up playing teams like that, and staying healthy, and definitely, and this is just not turning the ball over or putting your defense in bad positions. You guys were just nearly flawless, and look at last year's playoff run. A 6-point win over Reynoldsburg. Every Menor game, the Elder game, just every game was so you cannot make errors in those games, and you guys you play your best football. It's incredible what you guys do, how flawless you guys are towards the end of the season.
And you mentioned this right at the beginning, and I don't know if we ever planned on winning this many games, but I know this: the moment we stop turning the ball over, I mean seriously, not turning the ball over, the wins start to stack up. Last year, we had 9 turnovers in 15 games. 4 of those were during JV mop-up time. So when Demetric was in the game, we really only had 5 turnovers in 15 games. We didn't have any turnovers the last 4 weeks of the playoffs.
It's incredible.
Yeah. And then, between our guys making the right decisions with the ball in their hand, knowing when the play's over, knowing when you got the first down, knowing when just to get down, it just, and like I said, we hopefully install it through and without the whole season, and I think that's what really helps our defense, forcing long fields all the time, and like I said, we'll try it again this year and see what happens.
Well, Coach, I look forward to definitely following this playoff run. It's going to be a little different this year. I do thank you guys for getting so many home playoff games so I can get my lawn chair out behind the fence. But I wish you guys all the best, man. I respect the heck out of what, you and your coaching staff do, and you guys are just, you do it the right way, and I love the old school approach, and just the plain jerseys and everything about the program is just first class. So, Coach, I appreciate you spending the time with us tonight.
No problem, buddy. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, man.